A very good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be here today, and thank you very much for having me. Just to set a bit of a context of the work that I'm doing, I'm based at the Disruptive Media Learning Lab at Coventry University. It is a unit that has been set up for us to work with staff and students across the university to help them to discover different ways for engaging with learning resources, designing experiences that would help them to learn in a more engaging way. And we are looking at different methods that would include games, gamification, game-based learning, serious games, or whatever you want to call it. There are so many different names out there. But essentially, we want to see how we can motivate students to learn. How can we help them to contextualize the learning? Because there are so many different resources out there, knowledge that you can get anywhere, but how can we contextualize the learning, making sure that the experience that we want to create for them would be beneficial not only to the students themselves, but will be fulfilling and satisfying for the teachers or educators or lecturers as well. So I think these are the things that we want to work on to understand the stakeholders that we are working with. And we believe in the power of play. When we were growing up, we learned through play. We discovered different variables, emotions, the connection between knowledge and all sorts of different things through play. And I think we need to continue to learn about how can we use and reuse and remixing the mechanics of play in whatever we do. It doesn't have to be a game. It doesn't have to be a serious game. It doesn't have to be game-based learning. But if we can understand how we can engage our learners, we can create experiences that will be more creative, something that will enhance the learning in any situation. And most importantly, we want it to be long-term. So if you look at the skills that is expected in 2020, creativity is one of the key ones. So my talk today is going to talk about, it's going to look at how can we create games in a simpler way. How can we tap into our own inspirations, our own experiences that will enable us to create playful and gameful experiences? Because I believe we don't have to make it complicated. Based on the people that we're working with across the university, they always say that I'm not a gamer, so I have no idea how to create a game. No, it's like you know how to play games. You know how to engage with activities. For example, when we were growing up, I think in every single country in the world, we know what hide and seek is, right? That is the best game in the world. It's a strategy game. But anyway, essentially, we all have this natural instinct to engage in playful experiences. So let's tap into this to be creative. So we look at different ways of engaging our stakeholders using play, games, and gamification. We have projects which are funded by the university. So they are really investing in the use of games and the use of game design as a learning process at the university. And this has been recognized by the UK government, where we have been given a lot of funding to work with different universities as well as campuses in the UK. And we're also funded by the European Commission for now, Brexit, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. So we are working with partners across Europe to try and see how we can create playful and gameful experiences in different domains, education, health, so on and so forth. So we learn through these experiences that we have, and I believe in practicing it as well. So you learn through practicing. It doesn't have to be right at the first time. So you need to actually learn from the experiences that you have with using games. So there are two key things that we are focusing in terms of the work that we're doing. One is the use of games as a tool, non-digital and digital, or hybrid version of them, to enhance experiences from onboarding a learner into the learning experience through to mastering certain topics or skills. Because it is more interesting to learn topics which are quite dry. For example, if you want to talk about business law, how can we make it interesting? If you want to learn about math, how can we make it more interesting? It doesn't mean that math itself is not interesting, but there are different stakeholders who have different perception of what that particular subject is. So we need to understand them. So we can't actually just use one approach for everyone. And we have created different games for learning. We've learned from our mistakes. We've learned from our successes. We look at the different ways for creating stuff, digital and non-digital and hybrid approach as well. But most importantly, what we found in terms of the use of games in teaching and learning is the fact that we are allowing our learners to celebrate failures. Failures doesn't mean that you are not doing anything right. It means that you have discovered different ways of doing things, and you are actually learning to be a learner, learning to be more persistent in terms of the work that you're doing outside of the game scenario. And I always believe in fail stands for first attempt in learning, right? So the whole process will help us to discover different ways of addressing different topics or to engage with different activities that will help us to build our own knowledge and connection between the knowledge that would transform it to our own personal experience, possibly wisdom. And one of the key things I'm going to focus on today is the power of creating and co-creating. We have done a lot of work across the university as well as beyond, working with staff who are not really familiar with games. All they could say is, can you create us a game that would help us to teach this? I said, no, let's co-create this together. Let's see what you can learn from it by looking at games as a system, games as a culture, games as an art form. How can we express ourselves by using games? How can we create something that a learner could engage with and would experience the same emotional reaction to certain scenarios that we have created, perhaps? So we are looking at this from the point of view of co-creating or co-creation with teachers as well as students at the university. And the program that we have set up, which is called Game Changers, gamify.org.uk, is trying to look at co-creativity in helping teachers or lecturers to create a learning process through game design that will potentially lead to social innovation. For example, can we create something that will address real issues? How can we get students to engage with those issues and experience empathy, experience meaning and purpose in what they do in terms of their learning, and create something at the end of it? So the main sort of aim is for them to understand the process that would be more long-term and sustainable rather than the product at the end. I'll give you an example. So this is one simple example of how we can use play and games as inspiration. The fun of it, how can we encourage people to change their behavior or possibly engage in something positive? But possibly there might be a side effect. If this is happening in Christmas, we might drink more just to play the game and wine bottles and whatnot. Anyway, yeah. So if you look at that example, you can see a lot of different disciplines can engage in creating that product, right? So you can include engineers, you can include those who are doing math, computer scientists, designer, so on and so forth. So you can actually engage with the process of learning in terms of understanding what the subject is, what are we trying to change, what behavior that we are trying to nurture. How can we create this and apply it? How can we test it? And how can we reflect from it, right? So the fact that different people from different disciplines can actually work together to create something, the process of co-creating is powerful in helping them to understand how their own disciplines would impact another and how the creation would actually have meaning and purpose at the end of it. So this is what we're trying to push at the university in the UK as well as beyond. We are working with the community, trying to encourage them to address real issues in the community and society by being inspired by play and games. And if you want to find out more about the more scientific and research-based approach that we use, we have the transdisciplinary approach that would merge different concepts from different disciplines, for example, from health psychology into learning, into design, so on and so forth, that will be able to inform the design of gameful and playful experiences. It can help you to create a game, perhaps, serious games, game-based learning, but it will also be able to guide you in terms of what should I look at in terms of if I want to change behavior, what types of measures that I can use. So this is a more research-based approach that you can have a look at. So I'm not going to talk about it today. But essentially, our approach is very holistic because we don't want anyone to be driven by technology. Technology will change. We have to be defined by the actual needs. What are the actual needs? If it is to do with creating an experience for your learners, right? And then that will help you to design activities around a particular challenge. You can gamify it to make it more interesting, perhaps. And that would help you to find which technology that would help you to achieve that experience. So you shouldn't possibly say, OK, I like VR, I want to use VR for everything that I do. Because things will not work that way, because we have seen it being so, it's such a waste of time at the university where we were driven by different types of technology. We want to implement it in teaching and learning. But if we can give them options on how they can actually use this and use this technology and contextualize the use of technology in a more meaningful way, that will make it easier. And what I found in terms of the work that I'm doing and working with staff across the university, I'm sure that some of you are convinced that using games is fantastic, but some of you might be more skeptical, right? So how can we onboard our stakeholders, our learners, our teachers into this mindset? It's like, right, OK, let's work this through and find ways for it to be inspired by a different process of designing something for your teaching and learning. Keep it simple. We all have our personal game and play experiences. Let's tap into that. What emotions did those games invoke when you were playing them, when you were growing up? So how can we move on from discovering something new, onboarding, into practicing it, and then learn about what would work, what would not work in terms of the creation of games? Because we need to know how to create games in a simple way ourselves before we can actually say that, OK, games is the most wonderful thing in the world, because it is not, right? There are so many different methods out there. So if we can think that, OK, what would increase engagement in my teaching and learning, as the key motivation for why you want to use games and play, I think that this is what we are trying to instill within the different works that we are doing. Because a great idea can stem from something that already exists. You can reuse different things. So the methods that we are using under the Game Changers program, it is an adapted version of design thinking because we believe in empathizing towards testing your ideas and whatnot. So we will ask questions. What do we care about? What are the key challenges in my teaching that I need to change? What are the gaps in my teaching that I will need to improve? And then, what can we do? What can we design? Are there anything out there that will inspire me to create something, to ideate something, to define something? And next, how can we do it? Are there any technologies that I can reuse? Are there any new technologies that would help me to create this experience? And then it's like, how do we make it work? And how do we test it? So it is an iterative process that you question yourself as you design this. Because I always believe in, some people might say that, oh, you need a game designer to help you to design something. No, you need different groups of people to work together because you need subject experts. You guys are subject experts, especially in terms of those who are actually teaching at the university or in schools, so on and so forth. You have the expertise in terms of what do you want the students to achieve in their learning. The game designers can actually help in terms of informing some of the existing design that can be reused, perhaps. But in this model, we want you to look at yourself as a game designer. We all understand what games are. We played games. We play sports and so on and so forth.
What is your story? Interpret, create, and pitch your story. Create narratives using these key elements: people, context, and activity. The rules of play are as follows. Choose the theme of your game. All players draw one card from each element deck. Using your cards as prompts, create a story on a narrative concept based on the 3 elements. Players then share their story and vote for the best story told. Use your imagination to interpret abstract and subjective cues. A fun space for peer questioning and feedback, where individuality is important for collective creativity. Get everyone involved. What is your story?
So this is one example, one simple example of how you can co-create stuff with your students. We involve students as well as staff at the university to create this game. One of the key gaps that they found was students haven't got empathy towards people from different backgrounds, and they don't understand that people have got different experiences that would define the way they react to different things. So we created this game. This is an example that we created this game, the concept of it in less than 2 hours. And the fact that the impact of this game has far-reaching what we expected it to achieve. It is being used in France. It is being used by the Institute of Play in New York as well, because they are using the remixing game approach in terms of encouraging people to create games in a fun way. And it has also been used in Malaysia, in Trinidad and Tobago. So this is an example of how you can get inspiration from card games, story dice, experience designs, simple stuff. But the impact of it is huge. And you have a chance to win it today. Some of you might have the chance to win it in some of the activities I'm going to do in a minute. This is another example that's looking at escape rooms, puzzles, and problem-based learning. Yeah, so this is an example work which is done by one of my colleagues with some of the students in trying to define or create experiences that will help them to be able to problem solve and to help them to communicate as well, because they are put in 2 different rooms and they have to communicate via Skype, and there are a lot of hybrid approach in terms of using screens for passwords, so on and so forth, but the puzzles can easily be adapted to different subjects. It can be math, it can be physics, it can be any subjects that you will prefer. And the template is there as well. And we find this interesting that inspirations from existing entertainment, gaming sort of approach can inspire the design of this. And another one, everyone knows what Pokemon Go is. This is a project with 2 of our language lecturers and 3 students. They were very much interested in using the city as part of the learning, meaning that they would go to different parts of the city and they would learn Italian. So we said that let's just design from the beginning what are the actual gaps. And they said that teamwork is one of the key issues that they find in the subject itself, as well as the practice. So we said, let's just create this process of a treasure hunt in the city and whatnot. And then we said, oh, we are quite inspired by Duolingo, Tailblazer, which is an authoring platform which is created by the MIT, and Pokemon Go. And they managed to create this. This took quite a while. And it's quite interesting that we've learned a lot of things about dynamics between lecturers and students when they have to work together. So it took them about a year to create this. But it was a process that we are very much interested in. The fact that all of them learned a lot from this, and the students managed to get a fantastic job when they graduated last year because of the experience of working in real projects. Right, so now it's your turn, right? Core creativity, the creation of gameful and playful experiences by looking at your own personal interests, looking at your experiences with games and play and whatnot in the past. How can you use this to create your own brand new activities? Because I believe we don't have to start from scratch. We should be inspired by existing games out there. So what I need you all to do is to pair with someone next to you to make it easier, right? 2 cards will appear on the screen. The first card is game inspiration, so I will give you a game card. And card number 2 is a topic that you will need to address. And your mission is you need to create a new game in 1 minute. There's a typo there because it used to be 2 minutes. And we found that people created games in less than a minute. So I had to change to 1 minute and push it much further. So create a game, a new game in 1 minute. I will play a countdown. And then the first 2 groups to share will win a prize, and you will win these cards. Right. And tweet your game as well, ChangSchoolTalks. As an example, this is an example, right? As I say, hide and seek is one of the most wonderful games out there. How can we use hide and seek to address this particular topic, which is sales? Okay, what comes to my mind is possibly we can do a Willy Wonka, hide something in a product that would allow people to buy those products more, just to get the golden ticket, perhaps, right? So do you get the gist of it, of what you should do? Yeah? Right, are you ready? Yeah? Yeah. Make sure that you quickly put your hand up. The first two will share the game, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3, start. Yeah, okay. It's 1 and 2. Too late, 1 and 2.
Our game's called Trumptuary.
Okay.
So the idea behind it is you have a random selection of famous tweets from a certain president of the United States, and then you have everyone else at the table are the world leaders. And so they're world leaders of different countries, so they now have to try to determine from the tweet what exactly he means, and then what your position is in terms of international relations, trade, and stuff like that. By drawing it.
Fantastic, well done. There are 2 of you, right? And the next one is there. Thank you.
Okay, so my colleague Pamela came up with the idea of flags, and then we built around that idea of flags of how could we get drawing of flags and using that to connect ideas related to international relations. So we thought about you could put flags together in terms of which countries have trade agreements, and then talk about that. Which ones do you want to connect with in terms of culture? So we thought you could play with the idea of flags, put up a topic that connects international relations, and then build out from there and just call it flags.
Fantastic. See, I always say do not underestimate your own ability to create a game idea. This is just a quick 1-minute session, and it helps you to really, create something that is not out there yet. So I like that Trump share and the flag thing. So, and the next one. Right, we've got 2 here, guys.
So we came up with like a kind of a species hunt game, or like a diversity of species hunt game, where people would kind of go around and like take photographs of plants and things, and it would go into some kind of catalog of like species of the area, so you could find out how diverse certain plants are in different places, and people could get points for that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Is that going to be digital or?
Yes, digital on it. Yeah, digital. Yeah. So.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The next one. Oh, we got only 2.
I think ours might have been very similar to the team behind us. Sort of like Songza, but for ecology, where you can just walk through the woods and identify species, trees, insects, goes into categories, you get points. The end.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we need to give them the game. If you want to share your game, put it on Chang Talks, and then we can have a talk, and I can possibly give you some link to how you can actually download some of the stuff that we have. Right. So that really shows how you can actually create something. How can you encourage students at the university to create something as well quickly? So anyone can create games. But one thing that we are very much interested in as well in learning spaces, as you can see, Pokemon Go is one of the great examples of how we can encourage people to learn about a more hybrid approach for teaching and learning different skills through games. Pervasive gaming is one of the key trends these days. Yeah. but we have to make sure that instead of sending people to the toilet, get them to go out there, go outdoor. And this is an example of the inspiration as well.
In a world where learning has been constrained for too long within the boring gray walls of a classroom, beaconing has finally arrived to break down those barriers, helping you reconnect, play, and learn in the physical spaces where you live, anytime, anywhere. Beaconing allows you to be a part of an interactive community of teachers, students, and parents who aim to make learning more fun, inclusive, and grounded in reality by creating and sharing challenges that playfully connect science and technology with real people and places. A new pervasive gamified approach for learning STEM anywhere. Beaconing allows you to connect with your friends. You will become a member of the Earth Special Agents Organization, and you will overcome the challenges raised by real-world problems. You will have fun playing, chasing clues and quests, and unlocking mini-games all around your school and town, learning a great deal about the science and technology that drives our day-by-day lives. Motivate and engage your students by creating and authoring gamified lesson plans. Foster and promote academic success by offering activities inside and outside the classroom. Beaconing allows you to connect with other teachers and learning designers to explore a huge and growing library of adaptable learning paths in the field of STEM, or create your own according to your students' needs. You will definitely rethink the homework management, supporting each other in creating learning opportunities in the real world. And thanks to the support of the XAPI analytics, you will be able to keep track of your students' progress. Motivate your students through a more playful and grounded approach to learning, and help them connect what they learn in a meaningful way to the context of where they will live and work. Are you ready to play and break the barriers of learning? Join the Beaconing community and change the way you learn.
Right, so this is an inspiration from the Pokemon Go thing as well, which has been funded by the EU Commission. And the fact that one key thing which linked to what I'm talking about today is about co-creation. We need to really give tools to teachers to create their own activities. And what we're trying to do is to help them to create this and to break learning into smaller chunks, because it is key for us to be able to measure the learning as well. So those of you who are interested in this approach, come and have a chat with me as well so that I can share some of the information. And most importantly, use this particular approach for students to learn in the classroom, get them to create stuff rather than writing essays and essays after essays, because I believe in creating that will allow them to understand more about what they learn within the classroom setting. And what we found from the experiments we have done at the university is the use of this particular approach helped them to really reflect on the creative process, because it's not about the product at the end. It's about the process of creation, of creating, of co-creating that is more important, because that is a skill that they will have beyond the courses and modules and degree that they are doing. Of course, at first, I'm confused that what am I doing with this subject? Is that why am I creating stuff, right? But they soon have got these light bulb moments, little gem of insights, that they understand that fun can be serious, right? They understand the importance of empathy. How can I work with the people in my community and help them to solve real problems so that I can create something for them? And this link to them discovering purpose and meaning, right? Having purpose and meaning in the assignments, in the co-creation process, in every single thing they do would help them to understand that in the world of works or in lifelong learning, they will understand that if they have meaning and purpose in the things that they learned, they will be able to actually engage as better citizens. And the creative process, not just the creation, it's the process itself that they have discovered. It's quite interesting to see them reflecting the process as what they've done here. We will share the slides if you want some of the quotes. I just put it on here for show. And some of them said that games is actually a form of art. And I do believe that it is, because it helps you to express yourself in different ways, your emotions, so on and so forth. And most importantly, teamwork. They find it challenging in the beginning because they are from different faculties. They are doing business and law, computing, engineering, arts and design, put together in a team. They say, I don't understand what you're saying, type thing. But at the end of the process, they discover that they've learned a lot of things through teamwork and interdisciplinary work. And my advice is keep it simple. The process, you have done the simplest version of the remixing play. It's like remixing existing play and games. And some of you managed to create this game idea in less than 30 seconds. Your hand was up. I've got a game. So we need that in our classrooms for students to be able to think quickly and have ideas on different ways of creating stuff. And you can meet our champions, the lecturers who are working with us, and they've created their own activities as well, so you can learn from that. I'm supposed to do this, but I'm not going to do it because I think we are running out of time. However, I've also created a game, a demo game, based on the authoring tool that we have. It is a geolocation game in Toronto. And I'm sure it works. I think Brian, I'm not sure where's Brian. Brian gave me the landmarks in Toronto, so I hope that you will go to the right place, not in some toilet somewhere. But anyway, yeah, so you can learn about STEM subjects and whatnot. So yeah, so this is an example of co-creation that you can actually have when you use different types of tools and whatnot. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sylvester.
Yeah.
I think we have time for 2 questions really quickly. So if anyone has any burning questions, please raise your hand and our helpers can come around.
I'm an instructor, and I'd really be interested in including some of the components that you've talked about, or just an element of play in more of my teaching. But on our campus, as far as I know, there's not assistance from someone like you to help us with that sort of thing. So it's a big challenge for instructors because we're so busy with all the stuff that we regularly have to do. So I guess my question for you is, what can I do to convince the place where I teach that we need people like you to help us with this stuff? Because we're largely expected to do this kind of course development ourselves.
Okay, I think there are 2 points. One is be the person who can create something. Be the person who can try it out. Because as I said before, if you try it first time, it's not working, then you learn from it. We need someone to start it off at the university. That's what I've been doing at the university, working with staff, actually saying the same thing. Oh, we are in the faculty, we are busy, we are teaching, we can't actually create new stuff. But let's use this process of creating games in the classroom. Any game that they can create that will address different topics and see whether it's going to work. And this person went away, did it, and came back and said, oh my God, I can actually use this as assessment. And students were more engaged in the topic because it's quite simple to do. And secondly, if you need resources, gamify.org.uk has got plenty of resources that you can use and reuse. And we are happy to help you as well from the UK, because that's what we're doing with people from New York, people from Malaysia and whatnot, and giving them advice on the sort of thing that they can start to reuse in the classroom. We also have an open course, which is an open educational resources that you can use and reuse. So many different processes and workshop templates, games and whatnot that you can take from our website for free. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.